is Dennis Lee, and I came all the way from Dallas, Texas, just to be with you. And let me tell you, when I left this morning at 5 o'clock, it was raining down hard. So maybe you guys will get some of that, but hopefully not during sports game. We're going to have a great time this morning. Everybody say, okay. Okay. Because this morning, I'm going to tell you what the Lord taught me last year. Everybody say, what's that, Dennis Lee? Last year, the Father gave me a gentle tap on the shoulder and a gentle reminder of something that we all know, but we sometimes forget. Everybody say, what's that? It's a secret. If that doesn't work, then you give the baby the secret weapon, the milk bottle. That helps. The babies love the milk. No, they do, because milk helps them to blast off. Haven't you seen that commercial? God, milk? No, I do not. Here we go. That's what you call force feeding a baby. You have to be careful. Sometimes babies act like they're drinking when they're really not drinking. That sounds fun. We can use our baseball glove, and we can use a bat and a ball. It's going to be awesome. And I'm so glad you joined us here today on our very own YouTube channel called
Nana Puddin Tube.
Nana Puddin Tube. My name's Mr. Dennis Lee, and this is Baby Mickey. We call him
Nana Puddin.
It's how we got the name of our own channel, Nana Puddin Tube, right?
Right.
It's his favorite food, banana pudding. But he calls it
Nana Puddin.
Hey, this is the way we start every show. I count to 3 with you, and then you guys repeat Nana Puddin. Ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3.
Nana Pudding!
That was awesome.
Awesome.
Hi, and welcome to Landon Live. Today I have with me Dennis Lee, family and school ventriloquist. Dennis, how are you doing today?
Awesome, Landon. So happy to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being a part of the show. So let's just get right into it. How did you start into ventriloquism?
When I was a little boy, my brother, his name is Chuck, he was an awesome athlete, and my dad was a 3-time All-American basketball player for Oklahoma. And my baby sister was born, Lisa, and she had cerebral palsy, and my mom used to say she's a special child with special needs. They'll have a special life. And so I was kind of looking for my place to fit in the family. And my mother said that I always loved puppets. So to keep my sister entertained, she used to put a sock on my hand while she was doing the laundry. And my mom would say, entertain your sister. And so Lisa was 4 years younger than I was. And so she thought it was funny what to make little voices with the sock puppets. And my mother loved Edgar Bergen and some famous ventriloquists from vaudeville and radio and television. And so one day she said, you know what, maybe you could learn to make the puppets talk without moving your mouth. And I was like, what? And so she taught me, my mom taught me ventriloquism from a 3-page book in about 6 months. And we got a long play record. For those who don't know what a record is, vinyl, it's like a giant CD, digital download. And I listened to that ventriloquism record. It was a long play record, and learned to, be a ventriloquist. My mom really taught me, even though she's not a practiced ventriloquist, she taught me how to be a ventriloquist. And so I've been doing ventriloquism since really did my first program when I was 10 years old in Carrollton Farmers Branch. My dad lifted me up on the bed of a hay truck, and it was called the Carrollton Country Fair. And I won first place, and my dad said I didn't need any more encouragement after that.
Wow.
An A-type personality and a blue ribbon go a long way.
Wow. That's the story, Dennis Lee. I love that. So you specialize in church, school, and family and fair shows, correct?
Correct. My career has really run the gamut. I've been doing it since I was 10. I was telling my dad today, we were just kind of reminiscing. And I said, I've done one job my entire life. ventriloquism, And so when I first began, I had the opportunity to do some work at, different churches and my own church. I had some really great children's pastors, Ronnie Adams and Sandra Saunders, and just some really great people that allowed us to use our talent within the walls of the church and outside the walls of the church. And so I kind of grew up thinking that whatever your gift was, whether it was you could dribble a basketball or you could draw a picture or you could sing a song or you were great in science, that, there was a place for you in church, and that you didn't just have to keep your gift inside the walls of the church, but you could also take it outside the walls of the church. So I kind of got my start there. Yeah. And then
when did you come to that realization? Because it's really neat.
Well, I had a really, really great minister of music. His name was Jim Moses. And he was like, singers are great, because I really wanted to be a singer. And I wanted to, I played the piano and wrote music. And he was like, singers are great, Dennis, but, a lot of people can sing, but not a lot of people can do ventriloquism. And so why don't you sing and do ventriloquism? So I kind of combined those two things. But it was as a child, really. Okay. I was just given an extraordinary blessing. The older I get, the more I realize what a blessing it was that I have done one job my whole life. I worked at the Gap part-time just because I liked the discount on the clothes.
Yeah.
And then I waited tables when I was 14 for about 6 weeks. And I was like, are you kidding? This is hard work. When I can go do a birthday party and get paid $50, I'm going to work all week. And, so
that's
it was
hilarious.
A very easy.
That's really funny, because my sister's a waitress. So it's funny to we'll sit down for dinner every night, and or it used to be like that before the whole virus and everything. But I would go do a show, and I'd talk about my day, and then my sister would talk about all the different people she got to wait on that day, and just the different perspectives. So I totally get that. Yeah,
absolutely. And it is a hard job. You have to be a waitress or a waiter. Anybody in the service industry, that's a hard job.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what was it, like you said, that you've done ventriloquism your entire life, which is just phenomenal. What was the progression like for you? And did you go to college, and what did you pursue in college? And when you finished college, how did that play out in terms of defining your career and what your path was?
Well, I graduated from Newman Smith High School, and I was involved in athletics, and I was involved in drama and speech. But really, while I was in even high school, I was already doing programs for nursing homes and for kids' birthday parties and vacation Bible schools, and really whoever would let me talk, I would come speak to them. And I began to earn a living that way. Even as a child in high school, a kid in high school. And then it wasn't until I got into the University of North Texas. I studied interpersonal communication and got my degree there at the Mean Green Fighting Eagles. I always say we weren't mean, but we were real green. And the best thing about us back then was the debating team. That's changed. But while I was at the University of North Texas, I was really trying to find a way to either get my master's degree in counseling and then go on to seminary. I really had not solely thought that ventriloquism would be my life work. I thought it would be a part of my life work. And so at North Texas, I did some program in the Denton Independent School District while I was a senior at North Texas. And just before I graduated, I did these programs for school children. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is, number one, it's fun. Number one, the audience and my brain kind of clicked with them. It's kind of the way I thought. I had a teacher's heart, so it really led me to be able to pursue a lot of different things at once. And I didn't want to just teach children math and science and art, poetry and history and language, although that is, of course, the most noble of professions, I wanted to teach them about kindness and friendship and acceptance and trying to make good life choices and being positive and how to celebrate their journey, because that has been part of my journey, has been learning to celebrate the gifts that I've been given and the unique qualities that they brought me. So I graduated from the University of North Texas, and that really kind of led me down a path while I was getting ready to apply for my master's degree. Before I could sign up and do the paperwork, some of the Denton Independent schools called a professor at North Texas and said, "Hey, is that guy Dennis Lee going to be doing, the programming with children this year?" And he said,
wow.
no, he did. Yeah. He said he just did that. His name was Dr. William Powers, Will Power. Can you believe that? I mean, that's pretty funny. Anyway, he passed their names on to me. And so I spoke with some principals and counselors and said, I was just doing the programming for your students as a part of my thesis. And they said, "Oh, well, Mr. Lee, will you come back and do a show for us? We'll pay you." And I was like, right. hold the phone. So I thought, I can teach, I can do a bit of counseling, I can do the art form that I love the most, and I can be paid for it. So that's really kind of how my career began to unfold. And then I just fell in love with talking to children. Our mission statement at my company, Dennis Lee Productions, is that we have spent years loving and teaching children and the people who love and teach them. Because I think we don't just speak to the children, we also speak to their moms and their dads and their grannies and foster parents and all the people that love and teach them. And the way that I do that is because I had such a rich upbringing with a mom and a dad who really loved us and cared for us, and teachers that really got me, and children's pastor who said, "Hey, you got a monkey puppet? Okay, come on, you come talk to us." So I was really blessed, lucky, fortunate, whatever you want to call it, that I was given the opportunity. Really, it kind of fell out of the sky, that's what I say, and hit me on the head. And then there was such a need for quality edutainment, kind of. And so I began to do programming in the public schools and for churches and for kids camps and for this, that, and the other. And that led me to television. And I did 36 episodes for the Family Network, which was a blast. It was a lot of fun. My own children to this day say, I just was talking to my eldest daughter and she was like, "Oh, remember how much fun that was?" And I was like, "I had to drag y'all out of bed every day and make you memorize your life." It was fun. It was a great time. And then the television series, what that did was that opened up a whole new part of the world, because then instead of just being a ventriloquist from, at that time, Farmers Branch, Texas, it opened up, California and Canada and the whole of America. And then what happened from there was then people would say, "Hey, we're going on a mission trip to Brazil. You want to go?" Or, "Hey, we're going to, different parts of Latin America. Do you speak any Spanish?" And I'd be like, "Ooh, yeah, just enough to make me dangerous, but I would love to go." And so really, I think God, whatever you want to call it in your own life, I would definitely call it God, opened up my heart and my life and gave me the opportunity to share my gifts of, ventriloquism and laughter and learning with children and the people who love and teach them. So that's really kind of how my career unfolded.
I love that. Can you talk a little bit about how you travel with your show? You're talking about traveling all over the world with your show. How does that work? Because your show is very set heavy, and you've got. I mean, it's a production. It is a Dennis Lee production when you see a performance.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I like to think my show, I wanted to be different than other ventriloquists. I didn't just want to be, a ventriloquist with a wooden puppet and just kind of that patter.
Right,
Although I loved that. I mean, that's what I grew up on. But I really wanted something different for myself. I went to the ventriloquist convention. Yes, there is such a thing, where a bunch of people get together and talk about puppetry and ventriloquism and talk to themselves. And while I was there, I was a young man, but I was just old enough that I had to be in the senior division. So I did a part of the competition, and I had a wooden character at that time. His name was Danny, Dennis and Danny, and I won 4th place, and I was really upset that I thought I was a really super good ventriloquist technically, and I was. Even at a early age, because my mom really helped me to kind of get down, don't move your mouth and try to look natural and try to be clear. But when I won 4th place and I looked around at all the other ventriloquists, I realized that really I was kind of a dime a dozen when it came to, there was nothing unique about my program. So the next year I said, when I go back to compete, and I am going back, and it's not about me winning, although it kind of was, I'm going to do some things differently. And so I came up with new characters. Up until that time, I'd only worked with one ventriloquist character, and then I developed 4 over the course of that year. And that's kind of how I got my signature character. And what happened from that, Landon, was when I went back in the preparation time of a whole year, really focusing on performing at the ventriloquist convention, with the goal in mind that I did not want to be a dime a dozen ventriloquist. I wanted to do something unique and something that was special, and it opened up my eyes and my heart to a whole new way of thinking about my job and the art of ventriloquism that I loved so much and still love to this day. Every time I get a new puppet, it's like I feel like it's Christmas. So I went back to the competition and I won 1st place that year. And Jeff Dunham was one of the judges, and Paul, from Las Vegas, with the dragon. Golly, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Anyway, because they were my idols, and so they were judging me, and they gave me 1st place. And then I got an originality award. And what that did was it lit a fire underneath me that said, oh, this is a way that I can be unique in ventriloquism and still teach children. And I kind of consider my show like Branson kind of meets Las Vegas, but for children and for families. That.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
It has music, and every year I do a new theme. I do a totally new set. I use 2 core characters, Baby Mickey, who I call Nana Puddin, and then his older brother Nick. And then all the other characters change. And really, after you do a program 450 times during the course of a year, by the time it gets around for my new show, I am ready for it. I'm ready to lay down the props and the set and the songs that you've been singing, even though it morphs and it changes.
I'm sure you're also able to market it to your client base too.
Absolutely.
Next year's show. Yeah.
I learned very early on from a lady. Her name was Catherine Bassett. She said the best way for you to not get invited back is to continue doing the same old show over and over and over and over and over. And not only is it not good for your audience, it's not good for you. I mean, you get bored as an artist, if you're just going to say the same phrases over and over and over. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some pieces of your program that people are going to expect when you've worked for such a long time, that it's kind of like a Grammy award winning artist not singing their hits. They just want to sing their new stuff. The audience is not going to have that, so you kind of have to reach a balance. But there are ways to repackage your program and still do what makes you unique and what you're known for, but for it to be put into a brand new show and it to still interest you and interest your audience.
Wow, I love that. And you have a few DVDs out, is that correct?
Yeah. When we did 36 episodes for the Family Network with Denise Cook was my producer, and Billy Ray Rippey was my manager at the time. Nancy Burks, who is now Nancy Burks Wooster, Doc Gibbs, Lindy Phillips, they were my co-stars on the program. Nancy and I and Ray Rippey wrote 36 episodes. I wrote all of the music except for 6 songs for each episode, including the theme song and the ending song. And then we did, we were on a budget, but someone else did these really elaborate set for us, and it was called the Nana Puddin Show. And we did 2 versions. We did one version that could be aired on Christian television network, and then we did one version that it didn't matter what religion you were, you could watch it and still take something awesome for you and your family away from it. And I've learned a lot from that. That's kind of the way that I think about my journey even now. I don't just want to speak to a Christian audience. I want to speak to whoever wants to listen. And I think that I have something to say to not just my Christian base, or not just the school children and teachers and counselors, principals and assistants that I speak to and have spoken to. Now I'm on my 3rd generation. I want to be able to speak to whoever wants to listen. And I think I learn a lot from my audiences, and hopefully they've learned a lot from me.
Well, I absolutely love that, and every now and then I'll see on Facebook people connecting with you and saying, "Oh, I have a family now, but I remember when you were at my school and this and this." And what's that like to see that they still remember you and that you've made an impact in these people's lives?
It's overwhelming. Is how it is. It's overwhelming in the most wonderful way, like a sea of kindness that washes over you daily, and. In our industry, in any industry, when you're in the public eye, there can often be harsh criticisms, and don't get me wrong, I've had my share of harsh criticisms, directed at me too.
Sure.
But I have been so blessed, lucky, fortunate, whatever you want to call it, to just be bombarded and soaked with people's kindnesses about, hey, Mr. Lee, when I was in 2nd grade, you came to my school, and now my 2nd grade daughter watches you. Or, hey, Mr. Lee, my grandkids love you, and I loved you when I was in school. I mean, really, literally, it's kind of that. Or, hey, I saw you at a kids camp back in 1972. So it is overwhelming in the most wonderful way. It is a responsibility too. To kind of stay true to what it is that my life has been about, and at the same time to reflect the truths of my journey in an authentic way, and to let people into more than just sets and puppets. And really, it wasn't until my accident, in all honesty, and in 2016, I had a near fatal car accident. Coming home from a show in Katy, Texas, my car was smashed by 2 18-wheelers, and it nearly cost me my life. It took them 45 minutes to get out of the car. I was in a hospital in College Station for a month, and rehabilitation for another month. And then I lived with my 80-year-old parents and my physically challenged sister for a month. And it was, of course, probably one of the most trying times of my journey. I didn't know if I could go back to ventriloquism. I didn't know if I could get back to traveling on the road. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do any of it. And while I was flat on my back looking up, people began to visit me and send me notes and letters. And my mom and dad's garage literally just filled up with notes and letters from people saying, Mr. Lee, you have to get better. Nana Puddin Guy, please come back to our church or our school or our camp. And literally that stood me on my feet on the days where, the left side of my body was really smushed. It didn't get my moneymaker though. Just there, not get the money. But it really, to answer your question, it opened my eyes and my heart to the impact that my journey had on others. And not only the journey of doing programming in schools for all those years in churches and camps and on the television show, but also just being willing to be authentic with people and to say, I am crushed. My life is in a mess right now. I don't know how I'm going to get back up or if I can get back up. And just being able to be honest with people like that, I didn't understand what ministry that was going to be to people, because sometimes people see you on a stage, or they see you on a television screen, or on your YouTube channel, or on a DVD, or listen to you on a CD, or all these years, and they assume that your life is one way all the time. And nobody's life is one way all the time, because I'm a human being just like everybody else. If there's anything that we're all learning during this time where COVID-19 is ravaging our world, it is that, people are hurting, whether they're hungry, 1 in 5 children in America, whether they can't do their programming, they can't earn a living, they don't know where their next dollar is going to come from, or if they're going to keep a roof over their head. So being authentic with people, and I think just like being willing to talk with people, and not being afraid to say, man, this stinks. I was just getting back on my feet physically, financially, and my programming was really just getting back on its feet. And then, of course, everything shuts down. For us, it shut down March the 4th. So just about the time that I was, thinking, okay, woohoo, here we go. I'm going to ride this out till my retirement in the most wonderful way. Then it got kind of stood on its ear. And I know that a lot of people, including people that entertain and are in service industries, waitresses, waiters, people are, they're hurting. They're trying to figure out what's going to come next. And so I'm like that too. Anyway, it caused me to listen whenever I fell on, such hard times in my journey. It caused me to be able to hear someone say, Mr. Lee, you made such a difference in my life. Please don't give up. And then people's kindnesses stood me up on my feet. And if you've never been down, you don't really, maybe you don't understand that, but words matter. And when people are kind to you and they say such nice things, being a performer, you kind of learn to take criticism with a grain of salt, because it goes with your journey. Everybody always has an opinion about what you're doing.
Definitely.
And you kind of have to be really careful. I don't surround myself with people who tell me yes, 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 yes. I surround myself with people who are going to say, Dennis, oh my gosh, what were you thinking about that? That just does not work. Or Dennis, how sensitive is that? Or hey, Dennis, I think that that show was your best one ever. Or so that way you grow. The only way to grow is to kind of have some ups and downs and some failures, and nobody likes, huh?
I'm sure the other perspective too helps you, when you're working on developing bits, or maybe you weren't sure about the way something looked on stage, and
right,
keeping it growing.
Someone else's eyes, someone else's ears, someone else's mouth to say, because as ventriloquist, unless you were taping yourself and watching everything going on, you sometimes you don't know how funny it looks, or how dead it looks, or how lifeless the character appears, or how you I don't know, your costuming doesn't work, or and all of that is really ventriloquism has just been an outlet for me to be able to share storytelling and teaching and counseling with the world. Really, that's the truth of it.
Well, I want to share this story with you. You had accepted to be my mentor in the ISN program when I was a senior in high school. And that was just, that honestly did change my life. And I was able to see you perform your live shows. And we had a winter showcase halfway throughout the year. And you would see, we were at the Cowboy Stadium, the Star. And there were a bunch of different tables from different high schools, and you would see, people who wanted to be therapists, doctors, and at the very end, in the corner, was this kid who had this whole elaborate ventriloquist setup that looked like a science fair ventriloquist setup, and kids, teenagers that were also in the program were interested because I had puppets over there, and they're like, "Well, so who's your mentor?" And I said, "Dennis Lee." And they go, "Wait a minute, is that the Nana Puddin Guy?" And they freaked out. They're like, "How did you get him as your mentor?" And it was such a neat experience, because everyone, we grew up seeing you perform at our schools, and it was so neat that you're just you're just such a common and familiar name among
Well,
my generation. So it was truly an
thank you,
experience.
dude. That is so kind. It's funny because I have 4 children, and it's funny because through the years, their weddings,
Mhm.
they're all married, but my baby daughter, but going to different events, and then like obviously I have changed over the years. It's what
Mhm.
happens to you in your journey, but I would go to a wedding or I'd go to some formal function, and my children's friends would be like, they'd be introducing me. This is my dad, Dennis, da 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 da, and the kids would be like, he looks really familiar, and then and, right, and
Oh, I
then
love
and
that.
then
Oh my
and
goodness.
then my kids would say, well, he probably came to our school or your school or blah blah blah. He's the Nana Puddin Guy. And then it was funny to see my children's reaction to other children's reaction to me, because my kids are just my kids. They grew up on TV. They grew up. I
Sure.
drove them
Yeah.
to every show.
They're
They
used
worked
to
my
it. Yeah.
tail. It's just like, if your parent is a doctor, you don't think of anything. You just think your parent, that's the way every
Right.
parent is at a doctor. But
Yeah. A
it was
job is
funny
a job. Right.
and it was funny, Landon, to hear the kindnesses of other, like you are saying.
Mhm.
Um, it was really, really a blessing to hear that. And thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate that. It was really, really a blessing to hear that. And thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate that. I develop my puppet characters in a lot of different ways. Sometimes you'll see a puppet character and and it'll be walking by you at the airport. No, I'm just kidding. No,
No, I
but
get that as a
uh,
puppet builder. You tend to
right,
people watch. Yeah.
you people watch. And I think, I developed one character. His name was Danny, and he kind of had a stereotypical little puppet voice, that kind of thing. And then basically I tried to find different characters that would be different vocally than that character. So, I would do Baby Mickey's oldest brother. People are always shocked that that voice comes out of me. Hey, how you doing? You doing all
Yeah,
right?
you have quite the range.
or hey, doing oh well, or that's again been part of the fun for me. When I'm developing new characters. I saw somebody ask that question.
Yeah.
Um,
We have a
and
we have another comment from John and Crystal McLennan. They said, we saw you perform several years ago at the Children's Pastors Conference in Orlando. We love Nana Puddin.
oh yeah, the CPC. Oh my goodness, the Children's Pastors Conference. They were so kind to me. I had the opportunity to MC that for many, many years with Kurt Jarvis and some really, really great people. That connected me. The Children's Pastors Conference connected me to be able to work with the Billy Graham folks for a summer and to do their thing. I think it was called Kids Fest, and then to go to a host of different churches and mission journeys and trips, and to be able to talk about God and the difference that Jesus had made in my life. And so CPC, that's awesome. I have fantastic memories about that.
Well, it's interesting, Dennis, because you had talked a little bit about Nana Puddin and his older brother, but where did you get the idea for having monkeys in your show? Because that's become a staple for you and what people know you as.
Well, the truth of it is, I kept telling my mother when I was a little boy, I want a monkey, like a real monkey.
Okay.
And she was like, you are not getting a real monkey. Those things are nasty and they're hard to take care of and blah, 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 blah. And so it was a natural outgrowth for me to then want a monkey puppet, and Sesame Street was really just coming into its own, and soft-sided characters were friendly and they were non-threatening to a child, because sometimes if you bring out a wooden slot jaw character, little kids in the front row are like, they want to run and hide underneath something, because and I had a wooden character that was my staple. His name is Danny, but unfortunately he had red hair and freckles and resembled Chucky. Please don't tell Danny I said that. But
Danny
yeah,
got an early
so
retirement.
he had to take a little break. But so puppets, the monkey puppets came about that way, and then really how I got the name Nana Puddin was I had an aunt on my mother's side, Aunt Mary, and whenever we'd go to visit our family, which my mom's family lived in Gainesville, Texas, and my dad's family lived in Thackerville, so they were just like Thackerville, Oklahoma, which is like right across the border from Gainesville, Texas, for those of you who don't know. And when I'd go to visit, I would love my grandmother's banana pudding. But being from the South, we called it nanner pudding, right?
Right.
So
right.
when I was trying to think of something different, the year I went back to the Ventriloquist convention, and I was trying to come up with something new. Ooh, it's an Amber Alert. Okay. I think it's gone now, but I hope the child's okay. An Amber Alert came up on my phone.
Yeah, same here.
Whenever I went back to the Ventriloquist convention, I thought, I'll have a big monkey and he'll be Nick, that voice. Hey, how you doing? No, no, no. He's going to kind of be a punk rocker, kind of edgy. I had a good friend named Tony Wilcox that was edgy and kind of a rocker. And I patterned Nick the Punk Monk after him. Anyway, and I thought he'll have a little brother, and his little brother won't eat bananas because he's a baby. What will he eat? He'll eat smushed up bananas. And I thought, ooh, that's gross. And then I thought, oh, he'll eat banana pudding. And then really, because being a ventriloquist, saying banana pudding, well, good grief, why don't you just, jump off a building? I mean, that's hard to say, right? So it was a natural outgrowth to call him Nana Puddin, to cut off and being from the South, that's what happened. When I would perform in the North or in Canada or other parts of the world, people would say, is your show about a grandmother? Because Nana, they would think. And I'd say, no, it's about these monkeys that like banana pudding, but they call it Nana Puddin. And the weird thing was, this is the truth. It's weird how God works in your life and how you might think something is just something that's, kind of a throwaway or whatever. When I did the Nana Puddin bit at the Ventriloquist convention, and then I started doing that little bit as a part of my program, the Nana Puddin, then I would be at the mall, or I would be at a church, or I would be at a school, and people wouldn't say, oh, there's Dennis Lee. I'd hear,
Nana Puddin.
I'd hear somebody, and I'd be like, and that's me, and so it stuck. Literally, it stuck. It was one of those things that fell out of the sky again, miraculously. And then it became what people called me. They would call me the monkey guy, and then the monkey guy turned into the funky monkey guy, and then it turned into literally all that fell away, and people would just say, oh yeah, that's the Nana Puddin guy. And so yeah, that's kind of how that happened.
That's super neat. So I'm curious, you talked a little bit how you transitioned from using your character Danny to the soft puppets, which are really big right now. But what was the process like for you when you had attended convention before? Were you familiar with Verna's work? Or how was that? Because Verna Finley did most of your beginner characters.
Yes, Verna Finley, and then Marianne Taylor did after Verna passed away. Then Marianne Taylor did some of my key characters, but Verna was the one, and basically I got her name from Jeff Dunham. She was awesome and she's great, and then I went to the Ventriloquist convention, and the year that I did not win, that I got 4th place with my little wooden character, and I bought an elderly, kind of aristocratic looking older woman, and we called her Aunt Grace, named after my Aunt Mamie Grace. Because if you know me and I love you, you're going to be immortalized in foam. So anyway, I did get a Verna Finley character, Aunt Grace. I remember paying for it and thinking, oh my gosh, it wasn't that it was so expensive. It was just expensive to me at that time.
Right.
I was thinking, wow. And then the fun that I had with that soft character, and then the big gorilla Nick, and he has morphed over the years, as well as my Nana Puddin character has morphed over the years. And then I met, Marianne Taylor, and she has just always been such a creative friend of Ventriloquist. And then I met this kid at the school named Landon Harvey. And I saw some of his work, and I said, you are going to make I want you to make my next Nana Puddin character. And you did. And
That was an honor, by the way. It was.
Well, listen, I told you this. I've told you this to your face, and I'll tell it right here on your channel. You are a gifted young man. Not only are you a gifted ventriloquist and performer, but your creation and your character creations are one of a kind. I mean, they're sturdy. Your hands fit in them and just perfectly. I mean, you took so much time to get the face of my character just right, and I would just all of it, Landon. And I'm not just blowing smoke just because I'm on your show. You know how I am. If I didn't have something nice to say, I'd just be quiet. I'd just be like.
I remember when you were talking to. It was my end of the year showcase for ISM, and you had attended that celebration, and I did a mini lecture as well. And you were talking to, I believe it was one of my teachers, and when I told you were saying, yeah, he told me that he built puppets, and I said, okay, yeah, that's great. And then he showed me his work, and I was like, wow.
Right.
And that's why
that's the truth of
that moment. I always have to show people, like, I have to show you what I mean by I build puppets, because people suppose, oh, you build like hand puppets and you trace the pattern. It's so much more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Landon, because people don't understand what an art. And not everybody that says I'm a puppet maker, not everyone has your gift. I mean, first of all, you've got your characters have a unique look. I love, they have a cartooniness to them that just reads so well, whether it's adults or to children, or whether it's television or far away on a stage. And that's all those things are really, really super important. And then I remember the care that you took when you were making my Nana Puddin character, which is my namesake. I use him solely, the one that you made for me, I use him solely for YouTube, because I wanted him to be clean and crisp and look great. And I just, I can't say enough about you have quite an art form. So yeah, it is hard sometimes to explain to people what it is that you do. I'm a puppet maker. It's kind of the same thing as whenever I would go to a party, or when I was dating, people would say, "What do you do?" I never would say I'm a ventriloquist. Never, because I just didn't think that was very sexy.
Yeah.
I'm a ventriloquist. But I would always kind of soften that and then work people into the fact that I was a ventriloquist, because it was hard to explain.
Yeah, you say ventriloquist, and everyone has this narrow concept of what a ventriloquist is. What they don't realize that there's so many different forms of performing it. And so you're like, I have to really show you, or you have to see what I do.
Yeah, and not only that, but you know how ventriloquism is. People are really, really good at it, or they're not really good at it, and there's not a lot of background. And then because of that, then when you say I'm a ventriloquist, people want to pat you on the head and go, "Oh, well, but what do you do for your real job?"
You're like, oh, so that's one of your hobbies.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it is. Let me tell you, it is my hobby. And what is it that someone has said? If you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't know if that's exactly the quote, but
that's it, yeah.
But that is the way I feel. Don't get me wrong. There have been, there were grueling days on the road. There were grueling days when we were doing and taping the Nana Puddin show. Just ask Nancy Wooster, my friend, who I'm still good buddies with. There were grueling, days in the sun, or, blah, 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 or long hours or whatever, but we loved it, and that's the difference. I still love, I love it. I love talking to children. I love making people laugh. I love how it makes me feel. I adore the process. I like from the beginning of putting a show together to the ending of how it has morphed and changed. I like writing the music for it. I like putting the costumes and the colors together. I just, literally, it has been one of those things that very few people can probably say, and that is, I love my job. I mean, I don't even really think of it like a job. I love it. It's been a blast, and I'm not finished yet. Still got stuff to say.
Still got many more ideas and for future shows and creativity. Well, I'm curious because earlier you had answered one of our viewers' questions about I think it was something about the voice or something about creating a character. Could you talk a little bit about your process for adding a new character to your show and how you determine if you want to have something custom made or take something that's already out there and make it your own?
That's a great question. The first thing I would say is about when something is your staple, your core character, like Nana Puddin and his brother Nick, those characters had to be unique and one of a kind. I didn't know how important that was, the licensing about that, the trademarking of that, the not selling of the intellectual property rights to Nana Puddin and his brother Nick. But I made sure that I surrounded myself with people who did understand how important that was. And so Verna Finley, when she made my first Nana Puddin character and the brother Nick, she promised me, and that they would be one of a kind. And that was really, really super important, because then it went into television, and then it kind of became my thing. And then, people associated me with Nana Puddin, the character. So it had to be mine and uniquely mine. And then what happens is I do buy some stock characters, like Axtel. They have characters that they will duplicate and sell, and I love some of those Axtel characters. I mean, oh my gosh,
and his company, they do amazing work. Yeah,
right. I mean, amazing, and the bang for the buck is just, extraordinary. Extraordinary. So if I'm doing a show, let's say, okay, let's take the show that I did last year. Last year's show was called The Great Jungle Jam. And I didn't want it to just be about jungle characters, because I try to think outside the box so that when somebody hears the name, they might think, oh, it's going to have lion print and leopard print and blah, 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 blah. And it's going to be about banana trees and blah, blah. And it wasn't about that at all. It was about things that were black and white and how you bring color to your life in the Great Jungle Jam. Right. And so I had a character that I bought from Axtel just to use over the top of the screen. That I go back and get a new character, and then would come back and do the show out in front of the screen with the other props. And I loved that character. So sometimes it just depends on my need, and it also depends on my budget, because, people are not made of money, and, you've got to be careful about that. Also, I think sometimes ventriloquists maybe spread themselves a little too thin.
Okay.
I had one character. His name was Danny. I had that character that I got from Mayor Ventriloquist Studios, Chuck Jackson. My mom and dad got him for me. It cost a lot of money, and it was beautifully handcrafted and done. Clinton Detweiler helped my mom and dad pick it out, and the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
Yeah, and that character, I did that character for 8 years. 8 years. He was all I did. 8 years of Dennis and Danny. So I had that character down, and so when I had to lay him down because he looked too much like Chucky, that was like a death in my family. I mean, well, not quite, but it was like grieving the loss of a character. Yeah. So I embodied that character and his voice and his mannerisms into a different character that was soft-sided and more child-friendly. But what doing one character for 8 years taught me was that, oh my gosh, that I've got that down. I've got his mannerisms. I've got the way his vocal inflections. I don't even think about the back and forth conversation. It's not like it's so scripted. People always say, do you write your scripts? I'm like, well, yeah, I write my scripts. Well, it appears off the cuff. Well, yeah, it does appear off the cuff because I wanted to be conversational. I wanted it to be lifelike. And so I worked really super hard at that. And so it's not, and that just comes with practice and age and experience. But to answer the question, Danny, the character I used for 8 years, it wasn't until I went to the ventriloquist convention and I saw that I was kind of the dime a dozen ventriloquist that I said, I got to do something different if I'm going to stay in this and still love it and not feel bad about my art. And so I created the Big Brother Nick. And the best thing that I could do was to come up with a deeper voice that people wouldn't expect to come out of me, which,
when you hear this out of me, you really do not think that it's coming from me. But if you heard this from me, you would think that this kind of voice would be more like what you would hear from me,
Yeah. And so I worked on doing the other character, and when I work it into a show, I spend hours talking that way in the car when nobody is looking. I would spend hours just kind of talking to a friend and going, what do you think about this? If the monkey says,
hey man, you like my hair? Don't touch it.
What, or to come up with a catchphrase for that character, because that was important. It's like having a hook line in a song. A song that's got a really good hook. You're like, oh wow, I can't get enough of singing that. I sing it over and over, shake it off, whatever. And it's the same way with ventriloquism, with coming up with the character. When you come up with a mannerism or something that your character does or something your character says, it gives people the opportunity to love them as much as you do. So that's kind of how that process works for me. It is not something that I just go, oh, I need a lion puppet. And then I put it immediately in the next show. And let me tell you, for all the people who are ventriloquists, all of my friends can tell you that are close to me, it makes me nervous, and I still get unnerved when I'm working with a new character. Landon, the truth of the matter is, when you made my pristine, fantastic, extraordinary new Nana Puddin Company from Original Dummy Works, it took me a while to get comfortable with the fact that, well, you're not him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Because the comfort level is something that the only way to get comfortable is to put that thing on your arm and do it over and over and over and over. And now, if you tried to take my Original Dummy Works Nana Puddin character from me, I would be like, you can't. No, I don't want any other character. He's it. Because you get when you have something that is artistically what you're looking for, and the fact that you're a ventriloquist and you're a great artist as far as caricature and puppetry and the creation of the character.
Sure.
Wow. That is like handing a pianist a fantastic, extraordinary grand piano. I mean, they may have worked their whole life playing on a little upright at their house, but if they're handed this fantastic new piano, then it makes you play better. It makes you feel better, but it takes you a while to get comfortable going from your upright to the grand piano on a big stage. So I don't when people say, do you still get nervous? I'm like, oh my goodness, yes. If you're not nervous, there's something wrong. I still, of course, I got nervous before I was going to just talk to you tonight, and I know you.
Well, I'm curious. Could you talk about how when I built the new version of your character, it was a whole different feeling that you had to get used to, because you had the other Nana Puddin for it's as old as me. It's almost 20 years old, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you had used that puppet to its full capacity.
Absolutely. I had, and not only that, but I had 3 other ones that, because we did television work, and when you're doing television work, oh my goodness, and my characters changed clothes, which that was a mistake. But anyway, Nancy Wooster, she was always like, I don't put clothes on my puppets because they're animals, and that's a pain. But
I can imagine her saying that.
I think I won her over in the end. I think I won her over, and she dresses up Waco and Larry. But anyway, the dressing the character for different scenes that you were shooting, like all the kitchen scenes, you were going to shoot on a week worth of footage. That means that if the character was in a Western shot, that he had to have that costume on. And then so you had to have multiple characters. And the thing is, you get comfortable with the feel of the character and the smell of the character and the way that it looks. And it really is a feeling of comfort, you know, a security about not freaking out when you get on stage because you've got new songs or you got new whatever. And but I got to tell you, once you dive in and you kind of start swimming, you figure out what works and what doesn't work. And let me tell you, I love my new Nana Puddin character. Love.
Well, could you talk about your favorite show memory?
Oh, wow. Wow. That's a really hard question. The favorite show memory, like of all time.
Or one of your top favorites.
Yeah. I think probably it would have to do with there have definitely been some show memories that I you know will never forget, like Verna Finley. I rushed her, I hurried her up to get this new Nick character, the Big Brother character, for me. And she said, you know, she had this beautiful accent. She was like, Dennis, I hurry him to you, you know, blah, blah, blah. So he gets to me and I'm going to take him to this camp and use him immediately for this youth camp. Yeah. And while I'm on stage doing the program for this youth camp, the audience starts just laughing. And I'm like, okay, what are they laughing at? I mean, like, kind of not with me, kind of like at me a little bit.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a difference. And I'm thinking, what? And I looked down and the arm that was furthest from me had fallen off.
Oh no.
She told me that she had pinned, you know, because she was rushing to get it to me.
Right.
So she had pinned and she had stuffed, stitched all of the other pieces that she did by hand, except for this arm. And how I made it that far without it falling off, I have no idea. I guess the pen was in fairly good or whatever. But anyway, his arm fell off, and the audience was laughing. And then all I could think to say was, I've heard of disarmament, but this is ridiculous. And of course, they just thought it was part of the show. And then I picked his arm up and I finished the bit and had him in pain. And then the rest of the camp, I went to the nurse and she got me an arm sling. And so we put his arm in a sling. And so the rest of the camp, it was this whole deal about how his arm is still, he's okay, but you know, and I mean, we'd be at lunch and the youth would be like, how's his arm? So
I love that. You stayed in the moment and you went with it and you didn't let it overcome you. You turned it into part of the bit, and I love that. It's like prove that you're a seasoned pro. Yeah. Well,
one of the things I've definitely learned is this. I don't want my performance experience to be painful. I don't want any experience to be painful. Unfortunately, sometimes discomfort and hard times are sometimes a part of your life. They are. It's, you know, you can't have all sunshine. Sometimes you're going to have some nighttime, and sometimes you're going to have rain. But one of the things that I learned, if you're prepared as you can be, there's always going to be something that's going to happen. Always. You know, a heckler or a child throws up on your shoes, or a helicopter flies by, a horn that honks. If you're outside, it's so hot, you know, a bug flies in your mouth. I mean, Lord, there's a zillion things that can go wrong. Your mic doesn't work. They don't play the correct song. You know, that's back when I used to use somebody besides my own sound man. And if you let it freak you out, first thing, it hurts your audience, but it hurts you. You know, it's just a miserable feeling. It's one of the things that I learned. Not that I haven't had things that flopped. Absolutely, I've had ideas or gags or things that I thought were going to be so funny, and they just went, you know. And so I try them in front of a couple of audiences, and then if they continue to fail, then I go, Dennis, okay, that, you know, you thought it was funny, but nobody else thinks it's funny. And sometimes I have kind of a odd sense of humor. But letting something just destroy you while you're on stage is not going to do you any good. So if you can kind of be quick on your feet, and sometimes I have a few stock things in my head, but I was not prepared for a puppet's arm to fall off. I mean, what are you going to do about that? So and then taking that and running with it for the rest of the week, that taught me a lesson that sometimes the most unexpected things can just be a huge blessing to you and such a huge part of your show. And it can be a lot of fun. It can. My dad used to go with me. My mother taught me ventriloquism and wrote my scripts. My dad would take me to the performances because I couldn't drive. I was just a little kid.
Oh wow, you have super supportive parents. I love that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. My dad, my mother's passed away, but my dad is 85, and we send him all the Nana Puddin clips, and he's like, oh, I love that piece. Oh, you should take that part out, but that's really funny, and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, my dad would stand in the back of the auditorium because I was 10, and my favorite thing to do was ad-lib. I love to ad-lib. So my dad would be in the back going like this. Like, wrap it up, or no, cut that, or like, no, because I was a 10-year-old, and sometimes, I might think something's funny, and I might not understand that it has 2 or 3 meanings,
right?
Like a 10-year-old speak.
Yeah, sure.
So, being a person that liked to ad-lib, and kind of riff, really began to be a fun part of my journey, and it helped my characters and my programming to not always appear like it was all rote, although it is written out beforehand, usually a year in advance, and then it gets rehoned and refixed and reshaped, and it morphs as I see the audience. Oh, they just don't get that. That's the hardest thing about doing Nana Puddin YouTube. It's because I can't see the immediate reaction of the audience and go, oh, that's not working, or oh, they think that's funny, or oh, they love that, or you don't have that immediate reaction.
Right. Wow. Well, could you? One of my favorite stories that you've shared with me in the past is one that related to the Vent Haven convention and scripture. Could you talk a little bit about that story? Share that with our audience.
Oh, yeah. I went to perform at the Ventriloquist convention. Like I said, I was 16. And I went with another ventriloquist. He was in the junior division. I was in the senior division because I was 16. And I won 4th place, and he got 1st place in the junior division, and I got 4th place. And of course, that was hard. I was so happy for him, but I was upset with myself. So I got back to the hotel room and called my father, because that's what I do, And I said, Dad, he said, how'd it go? And I said, I got 4th place. And he was just elated. He was like, oh my gosh, don't you got 4th place? That's awesome. But I was like, no, I was not happy with my performance, because again, I kind of realized that I was a dime a dozen ventriloquist. And my dad said to me, after he listened, and I was really griping, and I said, Dad, are you there? And he said, I'm just listening. And then he said, Dennis, and he calls me Benjamin. My father calls me Benjamin. It's not my name, but he calls me Benjamin. He said, Benjamin, that which does not grow great fruit in our journey, the Father will gently prune away. And I said, what? And he said, that which does not grow great fruit in our journey, that God the Father will gently prune away. And I thought, really? I mean, I just told you I won 4th place. I do not want to hear scripture right now. I am mad. I am upset. Do not quote scripture to me. Now, here's the fantastic part of that story. Years later, I wrote a book called The Great Grape Garden, which is based on John 15:5 from the New Testament. God is the gardener, Jesus is the vine, we are the branches growing great fruit all the time. And that which does not grow great fruit in our life, God will gently prune away, because he loves us, not because he hates us, not because he's trying to be mean to us, but because he loves us, and he's trying to cut away the dead branches so we'll grow and we'll be able to flourish, because that's what a good gardener does. And that's what a good father does. That's what a good God does. So I perform at the ventriloquist convention. I get the phone call from my dad. He gives me the scripture. Okay. 20 years passed. 20 years.
Yeah.
Are you listening?
Yeah.
20. Ray Rippey, my manager and partner at the time, gets a call from the Vent Haven convention. Hey, we want Dennis Lee to come back and headline on the big night with 3 other ventriloquists. Will he do it? Absolutely. We're going to be in Illinois anyway, Dennis. We'll just jut down. Absolutely. So I did iFest in Kankakee, Illinois. And then we drove a long time in the wee hours of the night to get to the convention. We get to the convention, and it's there we are, right? And I come into the hotel lobby at the drawbridge. Is it still the drawbridge?
No, they tore down the drawbridge.
So anyway, that's how old I am.
Finally, yeah.
But, I went to do the and so I check in, and the kids are sleeping in the car, and they're exhausted. And so the next morning I get up, I go do a workshop to teach a workshop, and then I rest that night, and then I'm going to go do the performance. So I'm really super excited. I hadn't been there in 20 years. I go step on the stage. I'm third in the lineup, and the 2 ventriloquists before me had been kind of blue. And there were a lot of children in the audience because people heard that I was coming. And there are sometimes children in the audience anyway. But but they knew that I was going to be, and I was kind of known the Nana Puddin Guy, children's performer, does family-oriented church material and blah, blah, blah. So I do the performance. My children, Ray takes back to the hotel room because it got so blue that he was like, okay, we got to, okay, y'all cannot be in here to hear this. Yeah. So I'll bring you back when Dennis is on stage, and then you can sell the merchandise and stuff afterwards. Long story short, I do my program. Afterwards, there's a huge line. We sold totally out of all our DVDs, all materials that we had. We sold solely out. Sold totally out. Yeah. Now, that's not the great part of the story. The great part of the story is there's this woman, and she's waiting with her little boy off to the side. And I'm thinking, lady, what are you waiting for? I mean, I'm getting tired, And so she was just, because she wanted to talk to me. So she came up and she said, after everything's done, and she said, Mr. Lee. And I said, yes. And she said, I brought my son, Jacob. And I said, oh, awesome. Oh, that's fantastic. Hi, Jacob, blah, blah, blah. She said, well, I had to take him out during the first 2 ventriloquists because it got a little above him, or, a little blue. Right. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. And she said, no, I brought him because, he wants to be a ventriloquist, and he's seen your television show, and la, 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 la. And then she said, and I just want to say thank you for kind of staying true to who it is that you are and what it is that you were kind of called to do, and speaking to families. And there's still being something funny for me as his mom in your show, but also that I don't have to worry about taking him out. Right. When you stepped on stage, I knew what I was going to get. Mm-hmm. And then she said, I just got to tell you something. And I said, oh, because that can be a scary thing when somebody says, just got to tell you something. She said, God is the gardener, Jesus is the vine, and we are the branches growing grapefruit all the time. And that which does not grow grapefruit in our journey, God will gently prune from us because he loves us. And I thought, what'd she say? And I just started crying. And she said, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lee, I'm sorry. I said, no. I said, you have no idea. You have no idea what you have just told me. Yeah. And she said, well, yeah, I just was quoting John 15:5. I said, no. I mean, you know what you told me, but you have no idea what that means to me. Because 20 years ago, when I won the competition, and my dad get on the phone, and my dad gives me this, scripture. Mm-hmm. I said, I didn't understand what my dad was trying to say to me. And I said, and now here you are 20 years later with your little boy, and I'm back at this same exact event, and you are quoting to me this scripture about how God loves me enough to prune away the stuff that is not going to bear good fruit in my journey. As a young man, I did not understand what that meant. Mm-hmm. But now, at that time, and now, of course, I have been so blessed, lucky, fortunate, whatever you want to call it, I've not had to speak to people when they were inebriated or when they didn't really want to listen to me. I haven't had a lot of heckling. I haven't. Not that I'm knocking any of those venues. I'm not.
No.
I'm just saying that God spared my journey and cut away the things that He knew I weren't going to grow great fruit in my life, and gave me the opportunity to pursue a path that literally just still makes me smile. And how many people can say that? And it was not God's displeasure with what I was doing. It was God's love for me that I believe caused Him to be able to open my eyes and to see what a gift I had been given in the journey that I had been allowed to do and be a part of for all these years. So yeah, that's the story.
Oh my! There's so many amazing elements to that story. I mean, the fact that you hadn't been at the convention, and then you after 20 years you go back, and I remember the first time I heard that story, I teared up because I was like, wow, that's.
It's just one day I'm in the process of a good friend of mine. His name is Scott Wallace Luck. He's like my little brother. He's in the process of writing my story. He's been writing it since 2016 for all the things that people have not really known about me or understood about my journey. And that story is definitely going to be one of the stories that I just have to tell, because I am a man of faith, and my faith has seen me through the good and through the bad of each day, and has been a big chunk of me being able to speak to people, not just in church settings, but in all settings, to be able to tell them that there's hope for their lives, and that there's someone who loves them, and to not give up, and to continue putting one foot in front of the other, and to not give up on your dreams, and all the things that we kind of say as trite little throwaway things. But you know, that story, it's near and dear to me as well.
Well, that's absolutely phenomenal. And then today, you know, with everything that's been going on lately, you've been working a lot on Nana Puddin Tube. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because that's been growing.
Because I'm just like everybody else. You know, COVID-19. You know, it put the world on notice, right? This awful thing that has cost so many lives worldwide, and so many lives in the United States, and still people, it seems, don't really understand the gravity of, you know, wash your hands, stay home, wear a mask if you have to get out, take care of yourself. You know, I have a heart thing, so I have to be careful. My dad's 85. I have to be careful. My sister's physically challenged. I have to be careful for the people that I love and for myself. You know, you have to be careful. And so the YouTube channel has come about. I already had a YouTube channel called Nana Puddin Tube. And really, I was thinking in the next 10 years, as I begin to continually slow down, I'll never retire, but I'll continue to slow down to care for my sister as my dad ages, because Lisa is going to come to live with me at some point, and Tony, and we're going to take good care of her. The YouTube channel was something that we were going to really kind of focus on getting a viewership for over 10 years. Kind of weaning people to it, and the fact that I wasn't going to continually, you know, perform on stage, you know, 450 shows a year for, you know, okay, won't be able to do that when I'm 90, although you can roll me on the stage and I'll try. And so YouTube really, when the COVID-19 happened, we said, okay, we can either lay down and just quit, which, you know, you can't, because I still have to be able to make money, and so do all the other performers and all the other people. You still have to figure out a way, and not just to make money, but to continue doing what it is that you've been called to do in the world. You know, the money it's going to have to come to all of us some way, because, you know, we've got to pay our bills. But to not use the mouthpiece that you've been given to bring joy and happiness and encouragement to people, that would be a travesty. So Tony and I are on a schedule, and we we write the schedule over the weekend, and then we do one day in the studio, and then I take the stuff and do stuff in the field without Tony, and and that's fun for me because I can be creative and kind of play and stay away from people. stay a long way away from people, and that's hard to do when you have a puppet in a park. But anyway, and then Tony edits, and then we put my music and stuff together, and we put them out. We put out one episode a day. We do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday episode. Thursday we do a vintage vault, which is a music video, which is a throwback from my Nana Puddin show years. And then on Friday we do a fun day. This is going to be our new pattern, and we're trying to encourage teachers, children's pastors, and people who are just trying to continue to reach and teach their children to use us as a part of their learning, because they're sheltering at home. They might as well use us. So.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Could you adjust your mic a little bit? We're getting some. I want to make sure that we're not getting any feedback.
Can you still hear okay?
Yeah, I can still hear you. There's just some. I don't know if it's on my end. If our audience can still hear you. So do you have a character with you that could that you could bring out?
Hey, come here. Come here. You've been so quiet. I'm surprised that you were so quiet. I'm so surprised that he was so quiet. I've got somebody you need to see. Yeah, you know who that is. That's Landon. That's Goodwill. Yeah. He's the one that made you. Yeah. This is Nana Puddin. Hello. And this is my mainstay character. And you were made by Landon Harvey. And what do I always tell you? What do I always tell you? Sit down, you fattening nuts. No. I said that one time at Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah. And it was important, by the way. Yeah. I love my new character. I love his hair. Thank you. Yeah. I love his eyes. Thank you. I love his tooth. Thank you. I love everything about it. Can you see better? I want to make sure they can see.
You might need to adjust your mic. I think someone else commented that your audio sounds like it's inside of a 10, like it's kind of rolling. So I'm not sure if maybe something disconnected on your end.
Did something disconnect? Well, I'll have the person who does. Is that better?
No, it's still there.
Well, I don't know. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed on our end. We took off one mic and we can plug it back in. See how it works. See how it works. Plug it back in. Yeah. Anyway, this is the character that Landon made for me. This is my Nana Puddin character. Yeah. So good. How's that sound? Any better, Landon?
It's the same. It's okay. It might be on my end because of the stream. I'm not sure, but that's really great. I thank you for bringing him out. It's always neat to see, and how you dress him to fit the theme of your videos. And
oh yeah, that's part of the fun for us. It's me dressing him. I used to. Okay, you need to go sit with the nanny. You need to go sit with the nanny. I don't want to. Yeah, well, you're going to. Anyway, sorry. He thinks if the camera gets out there, he's got to do a show. That's what used to be one of my favorite things to do, was to shop for my character's clothes. Of course, I was a young kid shopping for, like toddler clothes. And people would be like, "You have a little brother?" I'd be like, no. They'd be really super curious. And I'd shopping for stores. My son, Hunter, when he was little, I used to dress him up in like these really bright overalls and stuff, and he'd be like, and I'd be like, look, you're only gonna wear it for about 3 weeks before you get too big for it, and really it's for my puppet. So for Hunter, we've got all these pictures of Hunter dressed up probably like a puppet when he dressed up.
Yeah, I get that in shopping for puppet clothes. I'm always bringing puppet bodies into local stores to make sure I get the right fit, and I had to show them when I did, so I didn't seem suspicious. But so in wrapping up here, what do you hope to see from the future of ventriloquism and from future school performers?
The future of ventriloquism. Wow. I hope that people continue to take the art and craft to all new levels. You know, we are working in an audio visual portion of our program with lights. And next year, my program is called Zero Gravity, and it's talking about not letting things hold you down, which is really super appropriate given state of, right? I mean, that's a God thing for sure. I can't take any credit for a lot of this. But anyway,
Dennis Lee staying current once again.
Well, that's important, right?
Yeah.
And also to be able to talk to people. I had a really good friend. His name was Steve Sanderson. He traveled with me for a long time, and he was this really giant of a guy. He was really soft-spoken and so kind. And one day he said to me, isn't it funny that you write all your programs for you? And I was like, no, that's not really what I do. And he was like, well, oh, okay. So 2 years passed, and he said to me, hey, remember we had that conversation? And he said, am I your friend? And I said, of course you're my friend, Steve. I said, you don't just work for me. I mean, we're like buddies. We hang out like 24/7. We're always on the road. How could you even ask me? Yes, you're my friend. And of course, that was then followed by, well, I need to tell you something. It was, he said, remember I told you you write your shows for you and you didn't really think you did? And he said, well, today was the perfect example. Isn't it funny that you've spent, all these years talking to yourself, but really you've been talking to yourself. I mean, working out my own anxieties, working out my own, where people didn't accept you, or people put you down, or they said you didn't fit, or you didn't have a place in the church, or blah, 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 whatever it was. You're a little skinny, big-eared, high-voiced, puppet-loving boy. Working out my own salvation with fear and trembling by talking to myself. And literally, I've had the best therapy for, now going on 47 years. And I believe everybody should have a little therapy. I think it does the world good. But, I've had the chance to have that character on my arm kind of talking and working through my own issues, and then hopefully being able to talk to children about that. And Tony keeps pointing. He wants you to see this. This is something I'm working on. We have a senior pastor at my church, Cathedral of Hope. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Can you see it?
Yes.
Can you see him? He's got at one point, this character looked like me, but now, of course, he doesn't look like me so much, but he looks like my senior pastor. So my senior pastor has a British accent. His name is Neil. And so I'm working on working that puppet into a
that's great.
Program.
Oh, that'll be fun. I bet he's gonna love that. That's a great plug for knowing your audience.
and for sure, right? I've been working a lot with my church of late. We have a great children's pastor. His name is Dan Peeler. He did a bunch of the designs for Chuck E. Cheese, and he's worked on television and a little bit of this, a little bit. He's 75 years old. I don't think he'd mind me telling that. And he and another guy named Charlie Rose, they do a lot of our children's programming, all of it really, at Cathedral of Hope, Dallas. And I've been privileged to be a part of the children's ministry really just since about January of this year. And so Tony and I go and we do programs for the kids, and we do it 2 Sundays a month. It's really, it's been such a blessing to me. I'm missing that because we're not able to get together with the
that must be awesome. You mentioned Tony. It must be great having him do all your sound and all the technical stuff, and so you can rely on him for that because he's your technician.
I'll tell you how great it is to have Tony Britt. Tony he's upbeat and he's kind and he's honest, and if he doesn't know how to do something, don't worry. Because he will read a book, he will Google it, he will figure it out. That's what he's been doing with all of our editing for the Nana Puddin Tube.
Yes.
Literally, he got a new editing thing. It didn't cost a lot of money. He downloaded it, and you can see how the episodes are progressing because I'm going to create until you lay me in the ground. Really, I'm just going to, if I'm not creating something, I feel like there's something wrong. I got to paint. I've got to draw. I've got to do something with clay or make a puppet or do a show. Because if I'm not, I'm going to be in trouble.
And you did your background, didn't you?
Yeah, this one I did. I drew this. I painted it when my dad had throat cancer. And so I was taking care of my sister. She was staying with me at the time. And so I had a lot of time. We were just kind of sitting together because Lisa has cerebral palsy. And so we do a lot of that type of thing, things that she can do that I can do. And now we both, we need some sitting down time. But yeah, I drew it and I painted it. And I'm really super proud of it.
That looks great. It really does. Super neat. Well, Dennis Lee, thank you so much for being part of Landon Live and for sharing your story.
I have to say before I go, if you're looking for a character, the original Dummy Company and Landon Harvey, and if you're looking for the future of ventriloquism, you asked me about that, and I have the perfect answer. Young people like you, Landon, who are going to take the ball, continue to grow the art, take it in the direction that you want to go in it, and hang on to the authenticity and the integrity of who you are as people, and remembering all along the way that humor, as my mother taught me, does not have to hurt or be offensive or be foul to be funny. So I'm proud of you, and thank you for making me a part of your show.
Thank you for being a part.
You got it. So thanks for letting us come and be a part. We had a great time.
Yeah, thank you. And people can find you and Nana Puddin on YouTube at Nana Puddin Tube and on Instagram at Dennis Lee, right?
That's correct. And awesome. You can drop us a letter at dennisleelive@gmail.com. I would love to, have feedback about ideas that people are trying to teach their children, whether it's, how to wash their hands properly or or how to be kind. So, and thank you for being kind to me and allowing me to be a part of this, Land. Have a great night, guys.
You too. Bye-bye, guys.